Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first official live stream in the year 2022. You were probably wondering why you didn't see the usual countdown video. That's because it doesn't work at the moment, but yeah, it worked anyway, and we already have like 50 viewers, so hopefully that's getting a bit more over time. And yeah, I'm Jano, I'm your host tonight. I hope you had a great start into the new year. Let's wait and see what it brings. And because we still can't do international signings, we'll bring you another live stream instead. So before we start, let me just quickly introduce you, as always, to our Don Rosa social media where you can follow us. That is Facebook, our main page. That's facebook.com Don Rosa Official. We're also on Twitter. That's at Don Rosa. We're on Instagram. That's at Don Rosa. And there is also a group on Facebook. That's facebook.com/groups/Don Rosa Official, where you can chat with other fans and with Don himself. Also, we got a Ko-fi page if you want to send us some tips, because I just renewed the streaming service subscription for another year, which was like $240 or so. So if you want to help us or help me recover that, feel free to do so. Every bit is welcome. And yes, I think I'll check here in the back end if Don is ready. Don, give me a sign if you're ready. Are you ready, Don? Yes? Okay, then I'll bring him on right now. Welcome, Don Rosa. Here you are.
Okay, here we are in the same room we've been in for the last three, including this one, the last three live streams. That's necessary. I think first it was by choice. Well, then the next time was when we did that book introduction or live signing for the premier company selling the Life of Scrooge books. That had to be here. And now we have to be here because the two puppies. And this is the only large room in the house with a tile floor, if you take my meaning. So there's newspapers. I'll show you shortly. I'll have to pick the camera up and look around, but we've got two pens set up here. One's large and one's a little smaller, with newspapers and cushions. And today or tonight, you're going to see me sometimes looking at the camera. Sometimes I have to glance over here to see what the monitor's doing, see what Jano's behaving himself. But then I'm also going to be looking down here, seeing what the dogs are doing, and I may have to disappear for moments at a time. My wife, Ann, is here. She's trying to wrangle the puppies. We'll see how that works. This may not work. Puppies are not that big a problem, but count them two at the same time is practically impossible. But we like to have a lot of dogs because we've got 30 acres, but that's like 11 hectares of land here, perfect for hound dogs. It's all fenced in, like I think we've discussed before. So a puppy is attacking a toy. I don't know how good the audio is, but they're behaving themselves right now. They were just fed. Now one's barking at the other one. Oh, now they're getting in their berserk stage. The problem now with these two puppies, most of the time, they're very sweet. They're very sweet and they play together, but then they have berserker periods and they start to attack each other. I guess they're playing, but it's vicious. Their little teeth are sharp, and I'm afraid, those big droopy ears are going to get torn or scratched, or they don't know enough about. They grab each other by the face. They don't know where the eyes are yet. I don't know. I'd love to hear advice. We're going to have to start searching for advice, because when they go into their berserker period, we can't control. Right now, Ann's holding one and the other's on the floor. But so we'll especially discuss puppies. I like to hear about other people's puppy experiences. Maybe you got some advice on how to handle two of them. We've done this before, and like every 6-7 years, when the older generation dies out. I told myself about 3 sets of dogs ago, when we first got 2 siblings, the puppies, at the same time, that I'd never seen 2 living creatures that loved each other so much. And that was so much fun. We did it again, and it worked. And maybe the other times they would, when they were puppies, they would have these berserker periods too. But I've just blotted it from my memory. So we look at these puppies sometimes, and we wonder, how can these sweet little sleeping puppies or peacefully playing puppies ever be a problem? They're so sweet. And then they go berserk again, but whatever reason that is. Anyway, so besides puppies, I guess take any questions anybody has, or show and tell. I can, somebody wants to see something, I can go fetch it. We can't do hopefully next time we do a live stream, we can do another comic book challenge in the comic vault. I love that most of all. Nobody ever sees that comic collection, and like I say, it's one of the biggest in the country. And I love to show it off, and this is the only chance I get. So what do you got, Jano? Any questions yet?
Should we ask for some questions? So I haven't seen any questions yet, but I will just send you some greetings here from the fans. We have hello from Germany, hello from Norway, good evening and greetings from Marseille in France, greetings from Denmark, hello from the USA,
Hey,
hello Don Rosa.
here's some questions about puppies. If it's not too personal, could Don talk about? You read that. I'm too far away from the monitor.
One moment. If it's not too personal, could Don talk about the conversation he had with his wife when he wanted to sell the family company to become a full-time artist?
There was no conversation. Like, about what? I didn't sell the company. It was liquidated. It just stopped. When I started doing comic books part-time and working at the company, my partner, my uncle's stepson, said, you know, the company's, he wasn't a Rosa, obviously, he was my uncle's stepson, like I said, but he said, if the company's in your name, my name's Kino Rosa, and the company was the Kino Rosa Company, that's my grandfather's name. If you're not interested in it, let's liquidate it. There was nothing to sell. Could have sold the name, because that company had been around for nearly a century and was the biggest ceramic tile and terrazzo company in this immediate part of the United States, but you can't, that's not really that much of a product name, so we just liquidated it. But I certainly, you know, that wasn't, my wife didn't enter into that conversation. However, she knows that one of the reasons I could do that was she was a teacher, and I knew I wouldn't starve. Because she had a steady job and a pension on the way. And it was pretty hard for a while. But, so the answer to that question is no, there was no conversation. I saw a question there about puppies, didn't I?
Yes, there's
Was out of
one
the way, and,
that we have a dog question directly over the question that I just asked, and this: Don always has these types of dogs. Is there a special reason, like the character, look, or something else?
your basset hounds are these types of dogs, because to me that's the only dog to have. They're the cutest, sweetest, unless they're going berserk, friendliest dogs possible. I don't know why anybody has any other kind of dog. No other dog appeals to me. Maybe a dachshund, because they're a little bit like basset hounds. If you could see them right now, they're both being so sweet. Anne's holding one of them, the other's nibbling on her toes, Anne's toes. And now the smaller one just laid her head down on Anne's feet and is going to sleep. So I think we're going to have a quiet period. So I don't know if I should show one of them to the studio audience now. Or should I do it later? Maybe we should get that out of the way.
Maybe no.
Maybe now or maybe no?
Maybe now.
Now. All right. And then they can go to sleep. Come here. I'll be right back. Talk to him, Jano.
Yeah, I think we will see a live action dog in a moment. Let's wait and see what happens, how that goes. Ah, I see a dog coming in.
Put him up on the table. Here, look in the camera. Get rid of this. Too slippery. Yoo-hoo! No, she's looking at her picture on the monitor. That's you. See? Wait. Yoo-hoo. See? See, look at my big, long ears. Why would anybody want any kind of a dog other than this? She's looking at herself on the camera. Bark at that puppy. Bark. Here, wait a minute. Well, I could get fancy. I've got some videos saved up here of basset hounds barking. I could pull one of those out real quick. Shall I try? Okay, it's dangerous. Oh, she's squirming. Okay, hold on. Where are the basset hounds? Where are... Entertain the people. I can't find my basset hounds.
Okay, so...
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Howling bassets. What is that? Oh, they stopped. Okay, lost interest. All right. All right, I'm gonna get back to where yeah.
Someone is asking if that's the same breed of dog that the Junior Woodchucks dog is, but I think he's more of a beagle.
I don't think the Junior Woodchucks dog is really any particular type. It looks like a, no, you don't know who the Junior Woodchucks, a bloodhound, which is related, but bloodhounds are huge and have pretty long ears. So this is a close relative, this is a miniature bloodhound, sucking on daddy's fingers now. Look at the camera, see? You get close.
Okay, somebody's asking how old they are at the moment.
9 weeks.
Okay.
I haven't got a good place here to set her, so I'll try holding her for a while. Maybe she'll go to sleep.
Question. Huh? Another question: have the dogs started developing their own personalities already?
See, this one has a personality right here. Don't bite me. Okay, now go to sleep. Look at that pet belly. Do they have a personality yet? They're just so sweet. This one's developing a personality right now. All right, cool. Here, give me a kiss. You want to go back over there? You don't want to see all the people all over the world looking at you? No. All right. Is that enough?
Probably yes.
But I'll keep talking about bassets. Yeah. Did I answer that question? I think the Junior Woodchucks General Schnauzy is a bloodhound. I would say.
Okay,
yeah.
No, continue.
No. Now the dog's trying to get at me here through the fence.
Somebody's asking, what's the aftermath with the storms and tornadoes not too long ago?
The aftermath is some small towns in Kentucky, at least one, was completely obliterated, and it's not in the news anymore because they're just trying to rebuild it, I guess, or I don't know. I haven't heard any. There's nothing else to say. They're wiped out, and I think I put on the web page on the Facebook page an image of the path of the storm, of the numerous tornadoes, and it was coming directly towards virtually this house, but certainly this immediate part of Jefferson County. But it lessened, so by the time it got here, it was just a torrential rain, caused me a lot of trouble clearing the debris off the fence where the creek goes through, and not really under, it goes through a fence. So naturally the fence picks up all of the tree limbs and branches and especially leaves, and I have to constantly clear that out. It's been raining now again for 24 hours, and once it stops raining, maybe before it gets dark today, we've got to go down, get in the car and drive around to the other side of the property, down the hill, and maybe I'll have to do some more work clearing those leaves out, because the leaves will eventually lift the fence up or break it down, and all of these basset hounds will escape into places they don't want to be. Basset hounds are also very stupid, which is part of their sweetness. Some other types of breeds of dogs, if they got out of the yard, they'd know how to get back. But a basset hound is probably going to get out of the yard because it's chasing a rabbit, and it'll chase that rabbit or possum or whatever it's chasing, and have no idea how to get home. So I have to make sure, I have to constantly monitor the fence. Like I say, the entire 30 acres, almost the whole, maybe 25 acres is completely fenced in. And some of the fence is very old, maybe 75, I don't know how old it was. Used to be a dairy here decades ago. So it's a very rusty old fence. In some parts are in excellent condition, but other parts are literally rusting away. So I have to keep patching it with just scraps of wire that I have around the barn. And then the good fence, that's a mere 20, nearly 30 years old, still as good as new, gets flattened by trees, especially dead ash trees. And we've got lots of ash trees. All of the ash trees in North America, these are very tall trees, were wiped out by the emerald ash borer bug that came from somewhere in Asia. So these trees fall over. They've been dead for years, and they finally just fall over and they smash the fence flat. And if I can't cut it up with a handsaw, I have to hire people with chainsaws to come out, and I help them. Because even if I had a chainsaw, I'd still need help to move the fallen trees. Don't have any neighbors, don't have any kids, don't have any neighbors close enough that I know. Anyway, the guy was here just 3 days ago getting rid of a tree that fell during that storm. Okay, let's see. Giving my usually too long answers. We are not hearing anything about the tornadoes, but they were nearly as bad as the one that struck Louisville in and another wiped out another town in Kentucky in 1974. That was a bigger tornado. It was an F5. That's as big as they get. Now the one that we just had was not that big, but it went through. I think it was more destructive. Of course, the one in 1974 got extra attention because it plowed right through some of the most posh neighborhoods in Louisville and right through our city park that was designed by the same man who designed Central Park in New York City, and practically wiped out the park. So that got more attention. But as far as lost homes and so forth, I think this recent series of tornadoes, all out of the same storm that tracked, it's not the same tornado. A tornado would go and then disappear, but the same storm would cause another tornado, which would keep going up that trail right towards our house. But like I say, right before it got here, it, I guess, unintensified, diminished. And so we got lucky. Now, that's not only good news that that it diminished, of course, but I look on it as extremely good news because the next time there's a tornado coming anywhere, it's not going to be coming right through here. So I feel much safer now than I did before, probably because I'm stupid as a basset hound. So that's all I can tell you about that. I haven't, I mean, I can just assume they're either trying to rebuild these towns or destroyed the city hall in one, what is it, Maysfield? But that's way, in fact, I'll tell you where that was. It was far in western Kentucky, very close to Monkey's Eyebrow, Kentucky, which I used in the one of the Life of Scrooges, Master of the Mississippi, an actual town in western Kentucky, Monkey's Eyebrow. Okay, what, you got something else? I'll try not to
Yes,
give long, rambling answers.
we got a hobby question. Question. I know Don and Ann like hiking, camping. Have you ever been on the Appalachian Trail?
We've never tried to hike the Appalachian Trail. We hiked the Sheltawi Trace, which I think may cross the Appalachian Trail. But people who hike the Appalachian Trail, I mean, they go for weeks. And then they don't have any way to get back. we go to one national park, and then we'll hike and we'll set a base camp up in the campground, the park campground, like Zion or I don't know. We've been to most every, especially national parks in the West. Bryce Canyon, that was nice. But we'll go there and we'll fly all of our camping gear on an airplane, or we'll put it on a train, and then rent a car when we get to the destination, and then we'll set up a base camp in the national park main campground, and then we'll go out for 1 or 2 nights at a time on backpacking trips. Not sure if we're going to do that anymore. It's getting a little harder to carry a backpack for 10 miles and set up camp and then do it again the next night. But that's what we did. I bought a cute little camper, just about as cute as a puppy, a basset hound puppy. Have I shown that on the Facebook page, a picture of that? Maybe I need to do that. And now we go to generally Indiana and Kentucky campgrounds and stay in this. It's a very small pop-up camper. I'm not the sort of American who likes these obscene giant RVs. That's not camping. I don't know what the hell they think they're doing. It's just showing off. It's consumption. What's the expression? I can't remember. There's a nice insulting term for the people who to do that. But we got a retro 1930s style teardrop shaped camper, but it also pops up, and it's very small. It's 17 feet long, however meters that is. But the part that pops up is totally glass all the way around. And you see these people in these RVs, giant RVs. Like I say, they're not camping. They're just traveling in a hotel room or in a house. They have little tiny windows, like they don't want to see where they are. And of course, I'm not even sure why they're there. But this is like living in a goldfish bowl. But after all, it's got everything you need. It's got a kitchen in it. It's got beds. It's got a dinette. It's got a widescreen television. It's not that wide. It's about that. But we do everything outside. We just treat it like it's a tent. We just wanted something that we could, maybe we could camp earlier and later in the season when it's colder, or maybe in the middle of the August when it's really hot. So we've got someplace warm or cool to sleep, but we still do everything else. We set up housekeeping outside the tent. We do all the cooking outside. We spend all the time outside. But the backpacking is, I guess that's no longer a hobby. Backpacking is not hiking. That backpacking is carrying everything you need on your back and hiking 10 or 15 miles and then getting someplace in time to set up camp at a reserved spot and so on. All right. Again, a long answer to a simple question. The answer is no, we don't backpack anymore.
Okay,
You get your
question
money's
about
worth when you come here. You ask me a question, you get your money's worth. Yeah.
question about the construction company. Has the construction company been involved in creating any structures we might have heard of?
If if you live in Louisville, uh, the Kentucky State Fairgrounds, all the floors in there, the floors in all the big hospitals, all the shopping malls. Of course, the shopping malls I think have been redone. The airport that's been redone since because we've been out of business, closed up the business nearly 30 years ago. So, of course, they don't have to redo them because we did terrazza. Terrazza is the century floor. It's actually more than that. Terrazza was a type of floor that was made, created by literally by artisans from the old world, came from Italy. Of course, that's where I guess where it originated. But that's marble chips mixed with cement and smoothed out and then ground flat. And of course, in many different designs and many different colors of marble, the most magnificent floors possible. And they literally last forever. I mean, even if you had it for 100 years and it was getting pockmarked and stained, okay, grind it again, and it's brand new. However, you can't make renovations with a terrazza floor because if you have to cut a slot, put up another wall or remove a wall, you can't patch terrazza. Well, you can do it, but it's always going to look patched and it'll be spoiled. And people don't like it anymore. It's not fashionable. And plus, I don't think there's many people left who could do it. I mean, when we closed up the shop, I think we only had one guy left, an Italian. Vince Berti was his name. Only one person who really knew how to tell people, his helpers, to create a terrazza floor. And you had to have experts to grind it flat. I mean, imagine it's just poured and then smoothed out, and then these huge grinding machines with 4 spinning things on them that had carborundum bricks in each one of them that were wedged in there and this would grind the floor flat. But this guy had to do it so well that it would come out as smooth as a mirror, as smooth as glass. I don't know how they did it. But nobody can do that kind of work anymore. And besides, it's not modern, I guess. The main thing that's left, I think we've talked about this on the webpage, is back around 1930, Kino Rosa Company did a Coca-Cola plant in Paducah, Kentucky, which has a magnificent terrazza floor, and the plant, it's all Art Deco, the lobby. And that is, I think, on the National Historical Register, and it's being preserved. And what's doubly remarkable about that, I think my grandfather knew at the time what a magnificent job it was. I mean, we did a good job putting it in. Of course, the design was designed by architects working for Coca-Cola, but it takes the Kino Rosa artisans to create it in actuality. But my grandfather he signed it. He had his name installed in a doorway so it wouldn't be noticed. It said Kino Rosa. It's permanently part of the floor. I've got some photos of that somewhere. But like I say, it's not, and that's not even a famous building, but as far as buildings you would have heard of, I mean, yeah, we did Churchill Downs. The floors, well, some bathrooms in Churchill Downs. They don't have much tile out on the racetrack. I remember doing myself personally, doing some work in a bathroom up in the Millionaires Row, up on top of Churchill Downs, where the President of the United States had just been and surely been seated, right in the area where I was repairing tile. But no, I guess that's a famous building. I hadn't thought of that. Churchill Downs. It's the most famous building in Louisville or in Kentucky, I guess. Okay, that's as long as I can draw that answer out. The puppies, by the way, are sound asleep. Everybody stop talking. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a dog. Wait, why
Puppy
don't I give you,
question.
you want to have a look? And see, there's the pen. There's the fish. They stay in the tank and they don't pee on anything. You know, see, it's a rainy day outside. Here's the other pen. When one of them goes berserk, we have to separate them. All right, there's the ceiling. All right, let me try to put my camera back. There we are. So you saw sleeping puppies. This is when we look at them and say, what possible problems could we be having with these puppies that are frustrating us so much? Like I said, it's just because there's two of them. One would be simple, but two, when you separate them, when they get too crazy, then one of each of us has to mind one puppy, or it's kind of cruel to play with one puppy and ignore the other. And there's only two of us. That's what we need, either fewer puppies or more people. And we don't want more people for sure. And we don't want fewer puppies, so life is going to be rough for a month or two. Or 10 or 12.
Okay,
right.
puppy question.
These have to
When
be
did you...
quiet. They have to be very quiet questions. Yes?
Quiet question. When did you get your first basset hounds, and how many have you had so far?
That's a good question. I got my first basset hound, I think, 1978. And her name was Cleo, just like we just reused the name for one of these. Cleo, I think, of course, I don't know. People who read the Facebook page don't seem to read all of the messages in each thread because of the way that they're, I don't know, maybe they're, I'm looking at it when I read the Facebook page or anything I do on the computer or on the internet, I'm looking at a big laptop or a PC upstairs. Everybody else has got these little, like I see when I'm in, well, not just airports, but every place on earth you go, and I'm walking, looking around, reading a book, and everybody else. So I don't know what they see on those little screens, but maybe it's hard to see all the questions and answers. So to recap that part, this time I wanted to get some, at least one white and brown basset hound. Most basset hounds that you see or that people want are tricolor. They're black and white and brown. And that's what we've always had, is black and white and browns. This time I wanted at least one that was white and brown, or they call it, they never call it brown. It's either red or lemon or mahogany brown. So we got one here that is completely brown and white. And it struck me just as an epiphany once that, oh, I have to name her Goldie. That's a perfect name. Because dog names all have to have very distinct vowel sounds. O, ah, ooh, ah, so they can recognize their name, especially if you got four of them. Goldie, Suki, Brownie, that's a little, but that was, she had a brown head and a black and white body, so called her Brownie. But I don't think that's a good name. That's not a, Leo was another recent one. Aggie, that's one of my theories. So this is Goldie and Cleo. The name Cleo comes from a 1954 TV show where there was a basset hound who would think aloud for the audience to hear. It was a comedy, but it wasn't like a cartoon show. It was a regular situation comedy, and the basset hound would comment on what the other stars of the show were doing. A very popular show. That was 1954. I was only 3 years old, so I never saw it, or I don't remember seeing it. But being a historian of television, like movies and comics, and I have always known that there was a famous TV basset hound named Cleo, so now I've used that name twice. What was the question?
How many dogs have you had, and
Oh
when
yes.
did you get the
Let's
first
see.
one?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many have we had? Maybe 10. The first one, like I say, was 1978, and then I had one when we got married, and then pretty soon we got two more. And since then, we'd had always three until I had the right idea to get, like I say, two siblings. And I love that so much because of how these puppies uh, who were born together, what a close association, or they were so used to each other that now this is the third set of twins or siblings that we've had. But it might have to be 10. I'd have to go see all the tombstones and count them up. But like I say, I wouldn't have another basset hound. Plus, it's hard to get if I'm not in Europe. Europe has the better basset hounds. In America, we have no, really. America, we have basset hounds that maybe they've got beagle in them or something, but they're nice, but they're not the classic. I'm not sure if I'd really like a real European basset hound because those are really big dogs. They're big dogs with short legs. That's how, not trying to be funny, that's how they're classified. Big dogs with short legs. But those basset hounds get really fat and heavy. And I understand they have more health problems, probably because of their build and they have heart problems and leg problems. So that's another reason why we keep getting basset hounds because we've only had two or three that are really, they're all great dogs. They're all so sweet and playful and fun, and especially when you live in a place like this is heaven on earth for a hound dog to be able to have a private hunting reserve that's fenced in so they're protected from any danger. Uh, so we always try to look at the parents to see what they look like. And due to a particular problem, I had to make a snap decision on the previous set of basset hounds we got. So through only my fault, they they really are not very good looking basset hounds. They're very sweet, and they're still at the age of 5. They're still as playful as puppies. So they're very nice dogs. But hopefully these are going to come out looking like the classic basset hound you see on the Hush Puppy shoebox. All right, you see me? I think that was a turkey vulture. Just flew by the picture window. Yeah, there he goes. That's a bird. It's the largest bird in North America. They have a wingspan of 6 feet or 2 meters. There he goes. He went right past the window here. The only bigger bird, I think, a flying bird than that is the Andean condor, but that's South America. So a turkey vulture. I wish I could have turned the camera around. He just whoosh, through the big picture windows there. I think I got to flee off the dog. Yeah, what's next?
Here is a question about being able to attend conventions again. How has it been to finally attend some conventions in the US at least? Any good meetings?
What's yeah, you want to know, is the question about attending a convention in this pandemic atmosphere? But I don't understand the part about good meetings. I always have good meetings with duck fans.
Yeah, but how has it been to be able to do that
Okay,
again?
that I can answer. I just didn't understand about any good meetings. You mean any good conventions?
Yeah.
It sounded like he was asking any good individual meetings with fans. No, I'll tell you exactly what it's like, especially somebody living here in Kentucky. The conventions here that I've been to, I was at 4 or 5 in the second part of last year, or the last late summer. They're huge conventions in convention centers. They're single rooms that are like a block long and half a block wide. But every single person in there by law is wearing a mask, and everybody has to be vaccinated. And of course, I'm behind the table. I'm separated from the masses anyway, and I've always got a big table, so I'm not even close to the other professionals. So I feel completely comfortable. And I'm much safer in that sort of situation than I am when I'm back here at home in Kentucky and I go to the grocery store and only half the people are, maybe a quarter of the people are wearing masks, and who knows how many of them are anti-vaxxer idiots. So I'm much safer at a comic book convention than I am in Kentucky. But that's why I live here in the middle of 30 acres. There's no risk. We never seen it. We never go anywhere. We never did go anywhere. That's the way I like it. I'm an eccentric recluse. That's my job. A puppy was having a dream, I think. Now she's looking around, so this nice calm period may not last much longer. How much time we got? Oh, only 45 minutes in. So the conventions I've been to have been great. We got this pandemic, this resurgence, and as most of you, I guess, know, I hope the people who live up in the Northwest United States know that there was a convention I was supposed to be at a week from today, but they canceled that, and I guess I'm kind of relieved because I didn't want to. Because my wife Ann to be here by herself with these two puppies. Remember, two. That would have been a dirty trick to play on her. So I'm kind of happy I should say I'm relieved that they canceled that. But that was smart with the way things are and the way Americans are. Okay, give me some more.
What's your favorite spot on your property beyond your house?
It's a good question. I don't think I have one. It's all outdoors. We've got the lawn, we've got the woods, we've got the fields. The one field is especially nice in the summer with all the wildflowers that I mow around. The other field, for some reason, doesn't have wildflowers. It's got some of the ugly types. I shouldn't say ugly; they're just not beautiful. Because anything that's out in the lawn that grows is a wildflower. Even grass is a wildflower, but it's got a very ordinary. When you let it go to seed, that's the flower. It's not especially nice. The woods, I got a section of woods over here that is very thick, and I think it might be virgin because it's on the side of a hill. And I've just arranged for those same people that I talk about who come and cut down the trees and fell on the fence and in the lawn. They're not so busy during the winter, and they're going to come and help me clear my old trails. I haven't maintained the trails over there in that section for about 10 years. It's just too much work. But if they can help me clear them again, get them back in order, then maybe I can just make sure I keep them clear. Because now there's too many trees down and trees growing up in the way. The garden, the vegetable garden would be my favorite place. I guess that's, of course, that's not natural though, so that doesn't count. That's like part of the house. That's a good question. Often I get good questions that I don't have good answers to. It'd be nice to be able to take a walk on a live stream. You work on that. Send Jano some more money so he can figure that out. So, get a really long cord. We could do a live stream out on the deck in the woods. I've got a deck way out in the woods. Not way out, but quite a ways out in the woods. A raised platform down a boardwalk that starts on the edge of the lawn, and then the hill goes down, but the boardwalk goes straight out to a octagonal deck that's maybe 10 feet up in the air, maybe 12 feet. That's a beautiful place to be, and it's got electricity running to it. And the way I've got the internet running in the house is the internet feed goes through the electric system. So the electric system is out there, and all I have to do is plug into that electric system, and theoretically, I should get a perfect signal out there. So we can do that sometime. That'd be nice to do in the summer or fall. Uh, yeah, that'd be fun. Why haven't we done that yet? Yeah, no, I don't know. It's too much fun to do comic book challenges.
Yes.
That's what I like to do. Okay, come at me.
Another puppy dog question.
Jano needs a helper to read. This is again too much for two people to do. I can't look at the list of questions over here. I have to talk to the camera and answer and give too long answers to the questions. Jano has to both listen to me and read all the questions and pick out good questions, and I don't know how he does that, but so go ahead.
Have the old dogs can't remember the names accepted the puppies yet?
What?
Have the old dogs accepted the puppies?
Oh, yeah, that's always fun. This time they were terrified of them. By the way, I'd forgotten to do this. One part of my yard that I'm not happy with, I just put this shirt on before we came on I thought I'd have a nice, I'd been wrangling with these puppies for a week in a sweatshirt, and it was pretty dirty and nasty. So before I took a shower and changed my clothes, and I noticed part of my yard is on this sweatshirt. See that? It's old burrs. So I must have been rolling around out in the field someplace, and I've got a whole bunch of burrs up my sleeve. I got something up my sleeve, so I've got to sit and pick those out. So at first, the older dogs were terrified because they never see, just like we never see other people, they never see other dogs. So they thought we'd gone insane and we were harboring squirrels, large squirrels in the house. And they're supposed to kill squirrels. And they were just terrified. But they were curious. So why were we having such personal relationships with these nasty squirrels or whatever they were? Oh, he's sneezing. Go back to sleep. That's good. So they didn't even want to look at them. They stayed in the other part of the house. And like I say, we have them here in these pens in the big room with the tile floor. And then they'd come in and they'd look and then they'd run away. But over the past week, they got braver and braver, and now they'll come in and get seems like a little too excited. They're really looking forward to playing with these puppies, but those dogs are too big. One of them especially doesn't look like a basset hound. It's much too big for a basset hound and tall, and it's starting to get old and fat, and we can't let it play because, like I say, these two older dogs still play like puppies. That's one of their charms. But we can't let them play with these delicate little squirrel creatures. But now they'll come up and the puppies just jump on the fence and they touch noses. But the other dog, the smaller, older dog, wants to get to know him. But it was real cute. He didn't want to look at him. He'd come in and he'd look the other way. And he'd go over and take a sniff, and then he'd look at me. And I don't know what he's looking me in the eye, saying, "You are going to get rid of him, right?" But no, eventually they'll get along. The last four dogs and the four the pairs of pairs, they play together just like they were all puppies. So it'll work out. I'm more worried about these berserker puppies here. If they're going to get over these really, they have like three different styles. They're asleep, or they're very calm and playing together nicely, or they go berserk. And that's I don't remember other puppies doing that. Maybe it's natural. We'll see. I don't keep a diary on each group of dogs or each dog, so apparently I don't learn anything. Okay. What do you got,
Okay,
Jano?
totally different question now. How old is that house? Did you do some additions to it, and has it always been there? Because you mentioned something that there was a dairy, or
Oh, no, whatever structures were here when there was a dairy, maybe a barn. I don't think there was ever a house on the property. And I don't know if there was ever a barn either. There is a barn on the neighboring property, so that might have been the barn that belonged to this dairy. And I was only told it was a dairy by the people who have lived here longer than I have. This house was built by the son of a local car dealer, Hannon Oldsmobile. I remember anybody who's from Louisville will know, if they're my age, will remember Hannon Oldsmobile in St. Matthews, suburb of Louisville. And his son built this house, and then he got divorced and he got remarried, and I guess the new wife didn't like living way out here in a very inaccessible place, too far from town. So he sold it, and my wife spotted the listing when I was at a comic convention back in just about 30 or 1992. Well, that is 30 years. We moved in 93, so 29 years. So he had to sell because his wife didn't want to live here. So this house was built in 1980, and it was built, you see, it's a log house, actual logs, timbers, I think they're called because they're square. But it was built from a kit. That's how they build, generally they build log houses. You buy a kit, or your general contractor buys a kit, and of course that just gives you all the timbers you need to build a house. The general contractor still has to do everything else, the finishes, the plumbing, electricity, etc. But you buy a log kit. I think that this is interesting. These, when you see what I'm talking about, the timbers, those are actual timbers. This was the outside of the house. I'm looking at the monitor. I shouldn't be looking here. This was the outside of the house when we moved in. There's 4 windows. These 2 doors here, like this door over here, that was a window. And so when we moved in, it was like these RVs I talk about. It was kind of an old-fashioned design, the inside of the house. And all of the windows are very small because this was fashioned after an authentic, I think a log house that Andrew Jackson grew up in, or some president. And so we didn't live here any time at all before. It was disturbing that the backyard was beautiful. The whole grounds was beautiful, but we couldn't see it. It's these people like the people in these big, vulgar, obscene RVs that go to national parks and sit in their RV watching television because they don't even see outside. They got windows about this big. So we had to build this, looks like a church. The people who, I designed it, and I had found a handyman and his helpers to build it. And they told me it was, they felt like they were building a church, a cathedral, they said. But we have windows. So it really doesn't match the house. But who cares? I mean, nobody can see it anyway. You've seen, if you hang around this website at all, you've seen pictures of the house from the outside. So you see it's an authentic log house design with this big modern addition on the back of it. And of course, that addition isn't logs. Let's see, I'll pick this up. You see the beams in the ceiling? I wanted to have the beams. That's how they would hold in the old days such a big open room together, so it doesn't collapse like a house of cards. But those are not beams. I mean, they're not solid. They're constructed out of 4 timbers. So those are, see what I mean? That they look like, where's the other one? Right up there. Look like big solid beams, but they're sort of fake. I imagine they still hold the roof up to some degree. And these fancy windows all the way around. they're devil to clean every couple of years. I did it last spring. I'm not sure, up on a 20-foot ladder, cleaning these windows with soap and water and a squeegee. I think I can do that for another 10, 12 years. We'll see. I'm pretty spry. I'm pretty spry. What are you laughing about? So how much of that question have I not answered yet? So built 1980, and we had this addition built in just a few years later. Moved in 93, so this was probably built in 94 or 95. And we spend just about all the time in this room. Anytime we don't spend in this room, of course, there's the kitchen. In the evenings, we are in the smaller living room. That's where I sleep while Ann watches TV. And then I've also got strange. I keep strange hours. I'll sleep after dinner, so from say 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. till about 2 or 3 a.m. and then I'll be up and around. I love being awake in a sleeping world, and of course along the sleep. And that's when I do a lot of creative things. And do a lot of stuff on the internet, and then I'll watch my DVDs, and then I'll read in the library. That's my favorite room in the house. Not the comic library, but I was going to shine the. It's not one of those windows. It's on the other side of the house. The library of fiction, old books, huge library. And we've done a show from there. We might do that again. So that's a good question. Okay, give me another. I just
Okay,
keep going. Right out.
somebody was asking if you have ever done a hike through the Klondike area, like
No,
Asterix.
no, I'm not even trying to think. Closest we ever got to that was Seattle. Now I've got, of course, since I know a lot of people in Norway and Finland and so on, I've got some good friends over in those parts who do a lot of wintertime hiking. But that's even my days of even thinking about doing that are gone. I mean, hiking in the snow and having a little pup tent and with snow all over it. And I'm fascinated that I watch their videos and look at their photos. I admire their spunk, but no, we've never done any wintertime hiking. Done a lot of hot summertime hiking, backpacking, I should say. In other words, sleeping out and during the hike. Nothing too cold though. I don't think we have that kind of stamina. Lots of good questions. Nothing about ducks
Okay, we
yet.
have.
It's okay. It's what they want.
Here's
Keep picking
something.
burrs off my. Yeah.
In the 2011 house tour video, I wonder who did
Yeah.
that. Two video games, Thief and Thief 2, show up for a second besides Don PC. Did he play those himself? Does he still play any video games?
I've grown up. Those aren't video games. Those were computer games. There's a big difference, a world of difference. I often would say I grew up loving television, movies, comic books. I can sit and watch TV or movies or read comic books for 2 or 3 hours nonstop. I could play computer games for like 10 hours nonstop, and it would feel like 5 minutes. I loved computer games back, say, in the 80s, early 90s. But these are computer games. These are not video games. Where you got that's, that's not my style. These were games where you'd have to take notes. You'd have to draw yourself maps. They were thinking games, like Ultima. That was my favorite one. Thief that was the last good one. Or playing Myst, or things like that. I'm surprised Jano, when did you film that? I still had the Thief games up. I can't even play those
2011.
anymore. Those, I don't think they work on modern PCs. Otherwise, I'd still get one out. I had more time in those days, I guess. Life gets more and more complicated, and I still watch all the old TV, and I've got my collection of DVDs and BDs, Blu-ray discs. BDs is growing. I think in the last year, it's really taken off even more than before, which is hard to imagine. But the computer games are like backpacking, or a thing of the past. There was another one, Diablo. Was that a computer game?
Hmm.
These games would have a little bit of fighting or shooting, but that was the least important. Thief was good. The whole point of Thief was to sneak around and rob and steal things from some. It was like a Robin Hood type thief. I mean, you were stealing goods from some evil landowner or something. But the whole point was to avoid fighting. That's when you were a clever thief. You'd know how to sneak around and avoid being seen. Thanks for reminding me of that game. I love that game. An anti-fight computer game. I hear whining. Still asleep. Lucky. 1 hour and they've been asleep. Might sleep through the rest of the show. I thought, I must be dreaming. Okay,
We get another question, this time about comics. I know Don has read the Asterix comics. Are there any other European comics Don has been able to read? I imagine he would enjoy the Tintin stories, but I don't know if they have been translated.
The who?
The Tintin.
Oh, of
Like,
course they have. I've got all those. I haven't read one in a long time. Okay, Anne is entering the den. It's like the lion tamer going into the cage because the puppies are starting to wake up. So she's going to try to keep them quiet. So I've got all the Tintin. Oh, I see. The other dogs want to come in. You going to let them in? Yeah, maybe they need to go out. Okay, sorry. That's the problem with this particular live stream. We've got a lot of stuff going on now. Anna's left the room, and the puppies are wondering what's happening now. Okay, maybe they'll go back to sleep. I don't know. If she doesn't come right back, it's going to get really noisy in here because I can't deal with them. Well, it's quite Tintin, as we say. The only way I can read, very few European comics have been translated into American, into English. Certainly not into American English, not translated in America, because Americans don't want anything that's foreign. They choose to think nothing else exists outside of the United States. So maybe there have been, of course I don't hang around comic shops anymore. There may have been, from Fantagraphics, I guess there have been translations of European comics, but for the masses, there have never been, back in the 60s, let me go back into the 50s, there were American editions of Tintin. I've never even seen one. I've never tried to collect those. I'll bet they're very rare, published here in America. I've got a full set of the Tintin books, probably published in England, that I've got probably 30 years ago. I was collecting those. It's been so long since I've read a Tintin. I don't have time to read any comics anymore. Wish I did. I haven't read the last 2 or 3 Asterix. But again, with Asterix, those are published in England. Much more sophisticated. England's close enough to Europe that it's actually in Europe, even though they don't believe it. But that's more sophisticated culture, so they're more interested in something other than the kind of comics that are popular in America. So I've got all the Tintins and I've got all the Asterix books up to the current one, but as published in Great Britain, and therefore in English, so I have a chance of reading it. I don't think there's ever been, seems like recently they tried, Jano would know more about this than I do. Lucky Luke, I think somebody tried to start and nobody wanted that. Because it's a cowboy. Americans don't want cowboys anymore. They want super damned heroes. It's the saddest thing that now, I'm a movie fan, of course. Now we have the capability of doing the great epic movies, uh, war movies, or the Conquest of America, or like Pizarro invading the Aztec Empire, or whichever. I mean, they could do movies that have always wanted to see in the past that we never had the technology to create. Now we can create anything. But Americans for the last 30 years, they don't grow up. They, they, their tastes don't change from when they're 10 years old to when they're 40 years old. All people want to see are superhero movies. I love superheroes, but I mean, you got to grow up sometime. But here, it's just superhero movies. With the technology to do the greatest movies ever made, at least visually, and all we get are superhero movies. How did I get on this? So, no, I wish I see when I'm in Europe and appearing in bookstores, and before I have to sit down and get busy, I look around at all the comic albums. There's no superheroes. They're all fascinating. Somebody's having a snack. You hear that? Somebody's got a kind bar, health bar. And the puppies are fascinated. I'm kind of fascinated myself. It looks good. Well, I got a puppy cookie, one left if I get hungry. I don't see what the dogs see in the things. So I've read the Tintins and I've read all the Asterix. I wouldn't want somebody to give me a pop quiz because it's been some time. Was that the question?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. We actually had a couple of questions about the fish behind you. What kind of fish do you have in your tank?
Those are tropical fish. They're not marine fish. They're freshwater fish. These are burrs again. Not sure what you can see. Yeah, you can see the white ones that I guess are pretty obvious over there. Those are
Is the camera cable long enough to show them more close up?
yeah. Here, let me do something here. Look at this. Great big black piece of plastic, cardboard. We had to keep the puppies from being able to see each other when we had one in one pen and one in the other. And that's been under my feet. Now I can move a little better. Now, I hope the fish don't mind this. Yeah, that's as close as I can get. Am I pointed at them?
Yes.
There's those are black neon tetras. Those are Serpe tetras. In the back, not moving, is a silver dollar. Right there, am I pointing the camera right? Inside that fake log are 5 big clown loaches. Those are my favorite fish, but they're very timid, so they're not coming out because they know they're on camera. There's one's peeking out. What else are here? There's like 3 neon tetras left. They come and go. They're very fragile. I just buy 10 or 15 of those at a time, and they slowly die out. It's a shame, but they just don't have the. It could be the clown roaches eat them in the middle of the night when I'm not watching. Ask me some tropical fish play. I'll tell you, the plants are all fake. I used to say for the first, I've had a tropical fish tank since I was like 15, 20 years old. No, probably 15, 12 or 15. And I would always have live plants because I would say, if you're not going to have live plants, you might as well have plastic fish. And I still feel that way to a certain extent, but live plants, they got the best of me. That is a side hobby. There's people who have that as a main hobby, and I admire that. But that is not and it takes a lot of time. But if it was my main hobby, I would definitely, well, first of all, I'd have 5 or 10 tanks, but I would still stick to the rule that if you're going to have plastic plants, you might as well have plastic fish. But it's hard enough just having plastic plants. You got to keep the algae from growing on them. The puppies are over here. Look at this. Come play with this toy. Yes, this is a nice toy. Wouldn't you like to get this and worry it like a rat? Huh? All right. I'm going to have to watch the rerun of this and see what that looked like. It looked cute. Put this back up on there. There we are. Where was I? Fish. That's a lot of work. But like I say, I admire people who have tropical fish as a main hobby. Yeah. Come on, Jano.
Now for another question, maybe.
He dozed off.
We have another question. Somebody's asking, but maybe that's too specific. Maybe we can talk about. He's asking, how long did it take you to do or to create a letter from home? But maybe you can talk a bit about how long it in general took you to do stories in general.
I calculated it once. If you took the time, excuse me. Somebody's filling up. I ate the last cookie, so I've given me more little dog cookies. Well, that's shaped like a little heart. And here's a little baseball, or it's a tennis ball, probably. Don't trip. She tripped on a puppy. What was the question? How long? I would take 2 or 3 weeks doing just research, which means going through books and books and books, a little internet, but books are so much better than the internet. And writing just down facts. I already had an idea for the story, and I just doing research, writing down 10 times more information that I'd ever end up using, because that's the only way to come up with a plot. And then they're getting bored with the show. And then I'd plan out I do thumbnail sketches to plan out, because I had a finite number of pages, 15 pages, 24 pages, so it had to fit all in there. And I'd have to plan out what was in each panel, and then I'd write the whole story in a notebook. Then I'd cut up my paper and I'd rule it off in the panels, and then I'd do the entire story in pencil. And then I'd go back and do the entire story in ink. And if you put all this together, I remember, I don't remember it doing this, but I remember calculating this, that I would complete a half a page a day. Which it doesn't mean in a day I'd create a half a page. It just, by the time the 3 or 4 months was done, I'd count up the days I worked on it and the number of pages, and it came to about a half a page a day. And as well as it paid, the job working for Egmont paid very well if you could work quickly and efficiently and intelligently. But no, I was very slow, so it never paid much, just because I'm slow. But it was about half a page a day. So I don't know how you settle on a letter from home, but just count the number of pages there were, and that I got a half a page a day done. And then you see how many half pages there are, and that's how many days it took. And I would always say that on the average, a long story would take me 3 to 4 months. And it always seemed to me that people should take 3 to 4 months reading it, or it's not fair. Then somebody pointed out that millions of people are reading this, and if you take them like 10 or 15 minutes to read the story, and if you added up millions of 10 and 15 minutes, that would come to years. And I decided, well, then I shouldn't worry about being fair, because it didn't pay well enough to take 20 years creating a story. So not at the rate I work. Okay, next, before the puppies start screaming.
Okay, here's
We're doing
another
real
one.
good
Hi,
so far.
Don. Hi, Don. Have you ever considered writing a novel similar to the ones you enjoy reading? The way you had the desire to create Duck comics after reading Buck stories?
No, no, I don't think I could do it. As much as I love reading, as much as I love the authors that I read, I think one thing that makes a successful author, and this both works good and bad, you have to be able to just gush out, just write. And uh, and there's writers like John D. MacDonald who can just go on and on and on, and I'm fascinated. Just the great, you know, uh, tangents he can go off on telling a murder mystery. And then there's other writers that just pour out garbage. And I could name a couple of them who are very popular. I mean, multimillionaires, they're so popular. And I try reading the books, and I get like 20 pages in, and I can't stand it. It's such bullshit. And I get rid of the books. I don't even like having them in the house. But the thing is, you have to be able to just let the words just gush out of you. And if you're really sharp, all of them are great. Just nothing is, the more the better. And I'm not that good. I could never do something like that. I'm not even very good at pulling the burrs off this. Look at them, they're still. I haven't even mastered the burr pulling yet. Go ahead. This keeps me
Um,
occupied in between.
Hi, Don. I wrote to you some months ago. I know you do not answer to mail anymore, but are you happy about the letters of fans that you get? And what do you think of them? And do you keep
Am
reading
I happy?
them?
I get some letters that are just incredible. I mean, it gets more and more. I mean, these are, sorry, these are people who grew up on my work, the way I grew up on Barks. And lots of times they're from people who had unhappy childhoods, or their father or mother died when they were very young, or anyway, it shows me that these people are read, and now, like they're 30, 40 something years old, like I was when I started doing the Barks Duck comics, because I loved them so much, because I had a pretty unhappy childhood too. And that's why I loved his story so much. That was some pleasure I had from my childhood. And these are I don't know how to deal with them. Uh, they're heartfelt. They're very gratifying. I don't think I deserve it, because I wasn't trying to be that important to people. I was entertaining myself. I was being selfish. I was having a good time. That's right. Starting to have their berserker period now. And I save them all, and it's not like I'm going to publish them someday. You can't do that to people's letters. That's rude, because this is their heartfelt. So I keep them to myself. But I very much appreciate them. Some of them, I think every once in a while I do break my policy and reply. But I sort of try not to, because I can't answer them all, and there's not a single one that is less earnest than the other one. And just because a person who writes to me is older and can write better English, first of all, because these are all coming from Europe, it's not fair to write to the older people and not the younger ones. And yet I try to have that policy. But every once in a while, one is about such tragic events in their life as a child that my stories got them through, and I write to them and I thank them. I don't know how to respond. I hear from people who I mentioned this a lot, who got married because this is even into the internet age. They met online discussing my work and eventually got married. There's people, and then there's the people who went into as a livelihood or education. They became archaeologist or a historian because of my work, or like Karl Marx's work. And I'm thinking, well, that's lovely, and all the economic opportunities that those lines of work present to them. But that's what they want to do, and I'm sure their parents wanted them to be doctors and lawyers. But that's good. I mean, look at me. I got rid of a very successful, nearly century-old construction company because I was inspired by Karl Marx to do the comics that at the time when I sold the company, I didn't know anybody read. I didn't know they were still reading these. I didn't know that these were still the most popular comic books in the world. I thought they were completely forgotten. All I knew was I liked them, and I wanted to devote my life to creating these stories just for my own personal amusement. So I get some wonderful letters. Yes.
Okay, puppy question.
Puppy.
Do you?
Puppy. Yeah.
Somebody's wondering if you also go for a walk with all four of your dogs on your property a couple of times a day, or are they just free to
A
run
couple of
around?
times a day. Oh no, they're free. They go out by them. Well, the puppies don't yet, but the other dogs, they go out and they go wherever they want and stay out many hours. Sometimes we get worried. You know, there maybe a tree fell on the fence, and because it would take I'll bet an hour to walk all the way around carefully walk all the way around the place. And that's where I got all these birds out there walking around the place. Uh, but they have free reign. They tell us when they want to go out, and they go out. See, I still got more back here. I had some. I just changed my underwear too, and there was burrs on my underwear. I don't remember running around in my underwear out there in the field, but apparently I did. Um, I think I got them all. A collection of birds. They run out by themselves, and of course we go on. We don't have them on a leash, of course. We're going to have the puppies on a leash. In fact, we just got some cute little halters. No, what are these called? Not halters. What are these? Very bad bras, maybe. Harnesses. And we have to train them to use these because we have to keep them under control, especially with the big dogs. If we want to go for walks with the puppies and the big dogs, we're going to have to hold the puppies back because they might get hurt chasing after the big boys, big girls. But they have free reign. We worry sometimes. I'm looking out the window now at the pond because that'll freeze over sometimes, and it's kind of scary because the dogs can go out on the ice. They don't know from ice. They just think that stuff got hard all of a sudden. So, but they've never gotten hurt. The danger again is they can escape through a hole that we haven't noticed. That either some fencing rots away or a tree falls on it. And that's happened over the last 30 years. 2 dogs got out once. We didn't think we'd ever see one of them again, but a neighbor. And that was before we were stupid. They didn't have collars with their name on them because we didn't think they could get out. But things just happen. So now we have to make sure that they have collars with their names or at least our phone numbers on them. But of course, it's interesting. And if you have dogs, you know this. But even though the dogs can go out anytime they want, the older dogs, there's nothing that excites them more than if we go on a walk with them. You'd think they wouldn't care. But if we go with them on a walk, they go nuts. Because their masters are going with them, I guess. Of course, after 5 minutes, they're gone. We don't see them anymore. But speaking of outdoors, I was hoping the deer bell would go off during this session, and maybe I could get the camera over to the window and see Deirdre and her family out there. We let them go anywhere they want to. And it doesn't matter if a tree falls on the fence or not, they can jump over it anyways. Okay. and doing a good job keeping the puppies quiet. And they're
Okay, I'm
not
going
running berserk.
through some more questions here.
Wait a minute, I got a hair out of place. Yes.
Somebody's wondering if you, in the 1990s, played the Gabriel Knight computer games.
What was it?
Gabriel Knight. I think it was with a vampire detective or something. Gabriel Knight.
No, that sounds good. But I went back. What were the ones at first? The very first computers that came out. Oh, I had the Ataris. I mean, the very first. I wish I'd have saved them. I'd be a millionaire. The very first cartridge games. But some of the very oldest computer games were the text adventures. Okay, now we're berserker stage. You want me to hold one of them? I'll try holding them. They're really getting nasty. Am I holding one?
Yes.
Okay, it's a different one. That's good. Okay. Let me get my burrs out of the way here. This is a different puppy. Let's look at this puppy for a minute. Here, look up here. Come on, look up. That's right. Look at yourself over here. Now, this is the berserker stage of the puppy. Okay, here, let's just sit here. What are we talking about? Remind me where we were.
Text adventure games.
Oh, yeah. What was the name of the... But they were text adventures. And so all you'd see was a text. And the text would tell you where you were and what you saw. And at the time, you used your imagination. And those were exciting too. That was it was all new. Okay, I'll try to concentrate. Go ahead. No, don't eat the bird. No, I'll just push them out on the floor. Yeah, that's good. She spotted herself on the. Now she sees herself on the monitor. Yeah. Oh. Yep.
Somebody's wondering if you still have the research notebooks from when you did your stories, and any chance of ever sharing a few pages.
I have all of. Yes, I have all of them. I don't have all of the research, but I've got all the notebooks that I wrote the stories in, and I'll share them in the sense that just like the artwork is being sold now by Heritage. In fact, there's about 4 days from now, there's another, I love you too, there's another big Heritage auction for The Life of Scrooge Chapter 3. But I've still got the notebooks of The Life of Scrooge and everything else, Berserker stage, puppy Berserker stage. And they will be shared in the sense that I'll finally sell them. Eventually you have to sell everything. That's how life goes. That makes me think of Todd Klein, who lettered The Life of Scrooge. He's the American comics letterer who won the Eisner Award like 50 times, 50 years straight, or maybe literally 13 years straight. And he was such a Duck fan, a Barks fan, and an old friend of mine that he insisted, he offered to letter The Life of Scrooge at his normal rates. Or maybe even a discount rate just because he likes ducks. But I remember he told me once that when he was 50, he decided that that's the age when you start selling everything. Sold his collection, sold all his books. So I like his lettering, but I can't imagine that I'm 70 and I'm still buying more. Sometimes too much, like 2 puppies. That's good. He's chewing on me now. Okay. All right. Come on, Jano.
Okay.
Cough him up.
Not many more questions here. I'm already
Look at the puppy listening to you. He's wondering where you are.
At the current time now. Somebody is asking, what do you see as your main hobby? Greetings from Denmark.
Comics. Comics or movies? Old movies. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still working on the comic collection. I still don't have quite a full set of everything from about 1945 onward, but I see them for sale. And even if I'm making some money off these heritage auctions, and maybe I've got the money to buy one particular comic that I was too cheap to pay 50 cents for 50 years ago, now I can get for $3,000, and I might be able to afford a few of those. But I can't bring myself to pay that kind of money for a used comic book. It's just, those are investors do that. I'm a comic book fan. I'll spend a lot of money to get a full set, but I'm not going to spend stupid money like that. And a few $1,000s for a used comic book is not much these days, if you know. They're selling for millions. He's watching a puppy on the monitor getting petted. That's right. And he laughs at, he hears you talking. Say something. Howl like a dog. Go ahead.
Woo!
What's that? All right. This is entertaining you and me. I don't know about the other 50 people or 2 people that are still watching. But
Well, two people already left because they said they didn't come here for dogs and construction. So
it's okay.
off they go.
That's like we say in other shows. That's on other live streams. This has to be for me too. I would be very bored just sitting here talking about ducks all the time. I want to talk about a lot of stuff. And if people come here and they want me to only talk about ducks, they might as well not come here. So we need to all be entertained. Yeah.
Somebody was asking if you. I already know the answer, but maybe we should mention it here too.
You know all the answers, Jano.
Do you ever draw anything just for fun nowadays?
I never drew anything just for fun, ever. Never. Even when I was a little kid, I told stories. I never drew for fun. I drew because I wanted to tell a story. I've got friends who, like Sergio Aragonés, you eat dinner with him, he's always drawing. He loves to draw. I hated to draw. I didn't think I did it well. It was tedious, but it was how I told a story. It just worked out that I became a cartoonist instead of a movie director, because that takes more equipment. Be a cartoonist, to tell stories as a cartoonist, I just needed a pencil and some paper. Be a movie director, to tell stories, you need a lot more. Don't pull the hair out of my manly chest. It hurts. It's okay. Ow! Ouch! All right. So, no, I never drew for fun.
Okay, somebody's asking, how did you learn to draw human caricatures as seen in Pert Willoughby papers and Captain Kentucky? You just learned it, you taught yourself, right?
A caricature is a imitation of an actual person. This question is just how to draw humans. Probably, I don't think I did that very good either. I especially don't know how to do caricatures. I get requested often when I'm at shows, people want me to draw them as a duck. And 2 reasons I won't do that. First of all, to be able to draw caricatures, that's an extremely good, I'm sucking on my finger. That's a talent. There's no such thing as talent, but that's an achievement. That's an ability that I don't have. Secondly, I don't know what they expect to draw them as a duck. I mean, how do they think they're going to look like a duck with a bill? They won't have a nose, won't have a mouth, won't have any hair. They'd just be their eyes. And I can't draw eyes that look so. People like Errol Minton people like that who can really draw well, they can draw caricatures of people as ducks. I can't. Now this, when she's in her berserker stage, she uses the back teeth, and I wouldn't be smiling right now. Now she's sucking. Yeah.
Then we have another question. Back when you were still creating
I tell
webcomics,
myself.
did you ever want to make one inspired by your favorite movie? It's a mad, 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 mad world.
No, that would be way beyond anybody's means. That could only exist as a movie. I've never seen. Did you ever see Barbara Walters or somebody be interviewed? Somebody who's got a puppy sucking on their thumb. I don't. Anybody who's not enjoying this, they don't like puppies. Well, they shouldn't be here.
Okay, let
Oh,
me check what else we have, people. Uh, Question. Don, a
yeah.
vulture in the garden is a great wildlife sighting. What are your other wildlife
Okay.
highlights, and how is your nature reserve getting on?
Okay. First of all, I always I'm fascinated by differences in languages. Did the person use the term
Garden,
garden?
yes.
They did. Okay. That's British English. In America, the garden is the small plot of land where you grow the vegetables, or maybe if you're really into it, your flowers. But generally, there's no flower gardens except in a florist. Uh, what the British call their garden is what we call the yard. So you're talking about a vulture in the yard. I just mentioned this because I think it was you, Jano. One time you were using the term garden, and
Hmm.
I couldn't figure out what you were talking about. I don't mow grass in the garden. I don't do it. And I found out that you're speaking naturally in Europe. You learn British English, which you should instead of American English. You get enough of that in all the TV shows. Easy. I've only got 5 of them. Um, um, it's hard to concentrate when this is. No, the people who want to see puppies deserve to see puppies. So I like them. Um, Anyway, so it was a turkey vulture in my yard, and that happens all the time. That's they're constantly flying around and landing in trees or eating some poor unfortunate squirrel. Yeah. So what was the actual question?
Um,
If you can find it
what are
again.
your other wildlife highlights, and how is your nature preserve getting on?
Uh, Still there. You mean what other animals do we have? I just looked at my trail cam. I hadn't put it out for nearly a year, and I put it out for about a month and looked at it. And unfortunately, I had to go through like 900 photos because of Deirdre. It's constantly deer going back and forth across the trail cam. Um, and but I still see there's a raccoon, and I still saw a fox, and I think I haven't actually gone and looked at them carefully. I just spent most of the time deleting like 875 photos, but it looked like a coyote. We have coyotes around here. I've only seen them a few times, but I think I caught one on the trail cam. The trail cam.
Crab.
Uh, he likes it when you laugh with the expression. Your please support us on Ko-fi is there. I need to. There, that's better. She's doing well. But other than that, yeah, for it was years we didn't have too many deer, but now we got a whole deer family that comes around every single day. And didn't I already take them some corn this morning? They came by this. They usually come by in the around sunset, but they came by early this morning, and they come and they set off the deer bell. And when I go to the window, they know if they come up, they don't know I've got an alarm, but they know if they come up and there's no corn, they just have to stand there and stare at the window. And eventually they'll see me, and I'll come out and put some corn. So they've already been by here today. So we got the deer. There's not much else. I hear people in downtown neighborhoods close to down. Yes, what you need to go? You ready to get down? All right. And they have as many deer and things as we do.
Be right back. There we are.
But the nature preserve is okay, I guess. Like I say, I've got one section over here to the northeast that I used to have a nice trail system going through, but it was got to be too much work. It's through the dense woods. I can't just drive the tractor on it like I do the rest of the trails. So it would take. I'd have to push a lawnmower through this trail through the woods. You ever see? It's kind of screwball things I do. Pushing a lawnmower through the woods to mow the weeds and tall grass off the trail. And it was tough getting that was the problem, is getting the lawnmower across these boards that I've got going across the ravine. I'd have to tip the lawnmower up on two wheels and hope I didn't fall off. So I kind of let that go. So they're starting to go berserk. You hear an owl. Every once in a while you hear an ow. So that's one part the nature preserve needs. The nature is too well preserved in that area, I guess. It's taken over. But the rest of the place, the nature seems to, sometimes the nature crushes the fence, like I discussed, but it's doing all right, I guess. I guess that's why. I guess they wanted to know what kind of animals.
Mm-hmm.
Just we know there's skunks out here. We just hope they don't get in the yard. We never let the dogs out at night, and that's mostly because of skunks. We made a mistake last summer when we go out during the day. We let the dogs, there were two or three dogs then, full size grown up. We let them run wild in the yard. But we made the mistake of forgetting that we were going to a baseball game that night. So we let them out. So by the time we got home at 11 o'clock and got them inside, one of them had apparently met a skunk. Skunks are nocturnal. And I still think I smell skunk on her. It's hard to get rid of a skunk smell. I don't know if anybody, you have skunks in Europe?
Yes.
You do? Probably not as nasty as our skunks. Oh, here he comes. You see him out there? No.
Not really.
All right. The glare hides him. Sorry. Somebody wanted to see the nature. I was trying to show him. I think I bent the camera. No? Is it okay? All right.
Yes.
Move the camera around too much. It's skunks. But if you've ever smelt a skunk up close, you usually, a skunk's been hit by a car 2 miles away and you go, ew, skunk. But if you've ever met one in person, the smell is so bad it makes you just want to vomit right now. It's terrible. Fortunately, haven't the skunks only coming out at night, and we keep the dogs in at night. So.
Well, talking about smell, your friend Chris Sparks is suggesting you should talk about your favorite cheese.
I don't have a favorite cheese. I just love so many of them. The favorite one, of course, is Roquefort or Bleu cheese or Gorgonzola. It's hard to. I'd like them more, but I like hard cheeses, and of course, those types are the most tasty things I think there is to eat, but they're real soft. So I have a love-hate relationship with those cheeses. I guess ideally, I wish Roquefort cheese was as hard as a Parmesan or what's the other? Reggio. Anyway, huh? Pecorino. Yeah. I like hard cheeses, but I can't ignore those lovely Roqueforts. Bleu. Bleu. But Chris Sparks is a good friend of mine, and he manages cheese shops. I guess he just wants to hear more talk about cheese. People should talk more about cheese. I think that's the general attitude. All right.
Do the deer ever eat anything from your garden, American garden?
No, because one year, long before it was probably Deirdre's great grandparents, or maybe even great, they have kids once a year. This was 25 years ago. Berserk mode. excuse me. We had the garden, and in one night, and everything was in springtime, everything was planted, and everything's starting to come up out of the ground. And in one night, a deer went, and we had a fence around it, like about 3 feet tall, to keep out the woodchucks and the rabbits and so on. And a deer got in there and snipped off every single plant and wiped out the garden for the whole year. So after that, I had an 8 or 9 foot fence built all the way around it. It's a big garden. It's about 100 feet by 75 if you count the margin, the walkways. So I think, I guess, absorbed that expense by now, but I guess for the next few years, every tomato that came out of there cost us $10, or every green bean was maybe $1. But it's paid for itself by now. What was the question? The deer. After okay, I wish I'd have gotten a photo of this just 2 nights ago. After the snow, we just had a snowfall, like you saw, I think, on the photos. I showed Deirdre outside in the snow, and I think it was right after I took that photo. Night was falling, and she and her family came up really close to the house, especially around front, and they got into the flower beds, and they were tearing up the phlox. They were digging the phlox out of the snow and sucking it up like spaghetti. And I'm not going to run out there and chase them with a baseball bat or something, because I want them to come around. But a few times I opened the door and I said, "Excuse me, would you please not do that?" And they'd walk away for a little while and say, well, "What's the matter with him?" And they'd come back, but I can't chase them away. The other flowers they were eating were, last year's flowers, so we're going to cut those off anyway. But the phlox, they were tearing up the phlox. I haven't really surveyed that much yet. Berserker mode. We don't have any, it'd be a problem if we had any like ornamental trees, if we planted any ornamental trees out in the yard, which would be pretty stupid. I mean, we got tens of thousands of trees in the woods. We don't need some ornamental ones sticking out in the yard. But if we did that, we'd have to put a tall cage around it, or they'd eat it all up. Used to have, when we first moved in, there was, the previous owner had a nice weeping willow tree. And probably he had just planted it the year before, maybe. But the deer, we hadn't lived here more than a few months before the deer had eaten that up. So they're destructive, but this is their yard. We just have to hope there's enough trees that they eat the leaves off some of them. They'll eat the bark off of small trees. But, we got plenty of trees. Not enough deer, plenty of trees.
Okay, somebody is asking, do you regularly get recognized and asked for selfies, autographs by fans in public?
Where?
No specific location mentioned.
In
So
Europe,
probably,
in Europe, all the time, everywhere, on the streets, in the restaurants, in the airports, yes. In America, in my life, maybe twice. Because I'm not known in America. You people all know that. It was here in Louisville, some comics fans. I walked past a restaurant, and somebody came running out, left their food on the table and came out. And somebody else in a Kroger parking lot. I might have been in my antique car that day, so that caught their attention, and then they saw. But I'm a rock star in Europe and nobody in America. So, but that's what keeps me level-headed. I know it's all fake. I know it's all celebrity it's all in people's minds. I can't be such a big celebrity in Europe and be nobody in America. So that's how I don't get twisted like the really famous movie stars and rock stars.
okay. Somebody else is asking, are you reading any good books lately?
Right now, this won't mean much to some people. I just read a book by Charles Dickson Carr. I've got a lot of, because I'm just a book collector. I collect books of a certain genre, And I may not even like the author as much as other ones. I just collect. This is somebody who writes a series. Charles Dixon Carr wrote a series of detective novels about a Dr. Fell back in the 30s and 40s. That's the period I'm most interested in, 50s. And I read one of those, and I didn't like it at all. It seems silly. Well, the big dogs want to come in and play with the little dogs. Yeah. Maybe we can get that on camera. Oh, did you see that? There she was. Don't look at the camera. All right, that's how it goes. Put the camera back. So, what was I saying? Charles Dixon Carr, and that annoyed me. I still enjoy it for the period and everything, but right after I read that, I said, no, this was such a waste of time. I've got to read something good. So I'd recently read a John D. MacDonald, Travis McGee novel. I didn't want to read another one of those because I don't read them twice, and I've only got maybe 2 or 3 left that I haven't read. Those are my favorite. But my next favorite is Stout, the Nero Wolfe novels. So I'm currently reading one of those. It's titled Where There's a Will. And of course, those are all good. Is that what the question was? What am I currently reading? Yep. So I'm reading one of my favorite ones because I just read one that bored me silly. I also recently read a Tarzan book. I've got a full set of Edgar Rice Burroughs near original editions, just because it was fun to collect. They're all not first editions, that would be extremely expensive. These were all like first reprint editions, which means the fighting, dogs fighting. Did you see how cute that little puppy was? Can you imagine it fighting like a berserker? Now one's being held and the other wants to attack. What are you gonna? Anybody know how to handle that? I don't know what to do. They need tranquil. And Tarzan, Edgar Wright Burroughs. This was Tarzan the Invincible was one I read. I try to read 1 or 2 a year. But I don't like them. They're just. I respect him. This guy became probably the most successful author of the 20th century in some regards. But they're so childish and pointless. This Tarzan the Invincible. The plot was just moronic. It was pointless. But like I say, I respect it. I'm a collector, so I'll read another one maybe in a year. But then I'll have to read a Travis McGee. I think that's what I did. Right after I read that Tarzan book, I had to read Travis McGee. And then after that, there's all the great naval adventures by Patrick O'Brien and Alexander Kent. And I don't want to try to think of all the authors. These are later. These are usually written in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. All by British authors. All about Napoleonic War, naval adventures. I love those. But we should talk about that next time we're up in the library.
Yes, sounds good.
What do you got? What do you got now?
Well, I think we're getting closer to wrapping up, but maybe one more question.
We've been doing this 2 hours, and we didn't have to stop. Okay, you should thank Ann. We couldn't do this without her being here to wrangle the puppies. Okay.
One question is, what are your favorite comic strip series? Newspaper comic strip.
Newspaper. Current or historical?
In general.
That's a big difference because they're totally different now than they were 50, 70 years ago. Current. Well, I don't see all of them. I just see the ones that are in our newspaper. What do we have in our newspaper? Dilbert? That's funny. Then there's things like Family Circus or Beetle Bailey or Marmaduke. And I think somebody got paid a living wage to create this. It's just stupid. But the other ones are brilliant. What are some of the comic strips we? Blondie. I still love Blondie. Somebody said Ziggy. Oh, Ziggy's not bad. But these are not real comic strips. Blondie is, but the golden age of newspaper comic strips, American newspaper comic strips. We're talking about Flash Gordon, Tarzan by Bern Hogarth, Alley-oop. I mean, well, you know what they are. Europeans know more about the history of American newspaper comic strips than any American. Americans think newspaper comic strips are all Garfield. I mean, they think that's all there's ever been. These are the same people who don't even know there've ever been Donald Duck or Uncle Scrooge comics. They don't know those ever even existed, much less that they're still the best-selling comics every place else on the planet. That's when, now I look at the Sunday newspaper comic strips. There's some of them that are just 2 panels. This is a Sunday, newspaper comic strips on Sunday used to be a full tabloid page. And now some of them, they're just 2 panels crowded together on another page. Yeah. I've got lots of books filled with the Golden Age newspaper comics upstairs. I've never sat down and read them all. I collect all the who did all the Dick Tracys and all the I got all the Tarzans published by Flying Buttress Publishers about 30 years ago. That's I don't really think about new comics, newspaper comic strips, but I don't see them all naturally. Okay, give me a good finish from what you say. What you got a last one?
Okay. Well, let's pull up a last one, but let me check here. Okay, maybe I think we might have crossed that topic before in another stream, but maybe to finish off, what are some of your favorite classic TV shows?
Green Acres. It's my favorite. The favorite sitcom. The best TV series of all time was the original Prisoner. A brilliant show, most intelligent TV series of all time. Intelligent, but still being adventure and regular entertainment. The Adventures of Ellery Queen, back in I think that was in 1974. That was the same people who later did Murder, She Wrote. But this was because I'm a fan of old detective fiction, this was a series set in the 30s, based on the original Ellery Queen books. And those were a lot of fun. They were like a comedy, mysteries, TV shows. Star Trek, like most people. Silly stuff like the Beverly Hillbillies. Those were very well written shows back in the 60s. I Dream of Jeannie. All of my favorite shows were things from about 1963 to 1973. I stopped watching network television in the late 70s. I lasted through the Mary Tyler Moore shows, all the different shows that her company did and that she starred in. Those were all classic. I never saw Seinfeld. That might have liked that, but I lost interest in network television, and I'm not very impressed by wanting to watch Seinfeld as much as how good everybody says it is. It's called The Show About Nothing, and I don't care to see a show about nothing. That's what it's about. And then a friend in Finland once, so maybe 10 years ago, said, "Oh, there's a show on you need to see." And I said, she said, "She needs to tell me about it." I said, "Well, all right." I'll just humor her. And she said, "It's called Firefly." I said, "You got to see it. It's a science fiction show." And she couldn't see me rolling my eyes. And I said, "All right, I'll rent it, watch it." It turned out to be like one of my 10 favorite shows of all time. So they can still do great, great shows if they want to. I can see why it didn't last. It was too good for the average viewer. They brought it back. Now, this is a good example of how the reason TV shows are not good anymore, because they try hard to please the average viewer. The original Serendipity or Firefly show did not try to please the average viewer, and it was excellent. And then they came back with like a TV movie, and I watched that, and it was boring. It was fashioned after a normal American action movie, and I didn't like it. I don't have a copy of it, but we just watched Firefly again. Great show. So is that the big finish?
I think so.
Well, I hope nobody minded seeing my puppies be the co-star here today, and if they did, that's too bad. I like puppies. If you like me, that's what the old saying: "Love me, love my dogs." That's your only
Okay,
choice.
I think that's pretty much it for today. Maybe we look if we have some last comments coming in, but I think all or pretty much all of the questions have been answered this time.
Well, I'll
And
see them all. I'll read them maybe tomorrow or maybe later today if I have a turn not watching the puppies. I think I have to watch the puppies the rest of the day, to be fair. So. Ooh, they're fighting. Oh, stop them! They're tearing each other's throats out. All right.
do we already have an idea from where the next stream, whenever that will be, will happen? Which
Well,
room?
maybe people can send in suggestions. I guess it should. I don't know. It was always difficult to do it in the studio, but people may want that the most. I'd rather do it in the comic vault. That's what I enjoy the most, showing off the comics. But the problem there is that most of the viewers are Europeans, and they don't know what an obscure American comic is. And you, Jano, don't know either, and you can't pick out which
Yes.
ones. Naturally, you can't, and I can't read the things over there on the monitor and talk at the same time and look at the camera like I should. Look out! It's a madhouse over here in this pen. She's taking care of it. But we can do the comics vault, we can do the library, or the studio. It'll be May or June before we can do an outdoor. We never did do an outdoors show last year. We kept saying we would, but okay. Are you frozen? I'm done. Are we still
Okay.
on?
No, I
I
was
got all. I
just
can't.
still.
There's no more birds to take on unless I check my underwear. I might have missed some there. Otherwise, I think I'd feel it. Oh,
Well, then that's it for today. We'll keep you guys posted on when the next stream will be. We'll post the schedule as always. And then, yeah, good night, everybody. Good afternoon in the US from wherever you're watching us. Poppy's
carry on the
saying
people.
bye too.
Yep. Okay. So long.
And yeah, see you
Now,
next time.
now I have to
Bye.
I got to be the puppy watcher for about 6 hours. Yeah.
Enjoy.